Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Welcome back, dear students. I hope you thought about your friends and you chose the two friends that you're going to talk about in our lesson today. So we are going to go back to our writing lesson, which we have on page number 14. We had the question, do you think it is necessary for people? So actually this is a very interesting question for you to think about. Do you think it is necessary for people to share the same characteristics in order to get along well with each other? Why or why not? We also, just to revise here, we talked about two people who were mentioned in the book. Now we have the maternal grandparents. We discussed the characteristics that they shared together, and we had a Venn diagram just to show what are the different characteristics and the things that they had in common or joined them together in a symbiotic relationship. What else? Now we have the question also, this is a very interesting question. Do you think that we have here what might have happened if they both shared exactly the same attitude and characteristics? Why or why not? Now this was a very interesting question to think about. And here we focus at the same thing or on the same thing here that we are talking about from the beginning of the unit, which is teamwork. Now, just to remind you, from the very beginning, we talked about Marie and Pierre Curie, who were a couple. We had the Wright brothers, and there are different examples that I am sure you thought about who teamed up together. So even our grandparents here, the maternal grandparents, they are a team together. Now it is your turn. We are going to open our book on page number 15. Our objectives for our lesson today, which is the completion of the writing. Number one, to state the importance of sharing characteristics between friends as a personal opinion. Number two, to examine two personalities and outline their differences. Number three, to compare using a Venn diagram to write two friends' qualities. Number four, to describe someone's negative and positive qualities and give a personal opinion about them. Number five, to display a sense of commitment and genuine feeling about personal relationships. So we are going to move on with our lesson. We have page number 15, as we mentioned before. Now we had the questions or the instructions that I read to you in our last lesson. I hope that you have everything ready and prepared. You prepared your Venn diagram to work with me in this lesson. Now we're going to choose our friends. Now just to give you an idea about it, I also prepared my homework with you. So I'm going to talk about my friends as well using the Venn diagram. Now you can see in page number 15 that we have a writing corner. There are actually lots of instructions and details that we are going to follow throughout our writing lesson. First of all, when you write a descriptive essay about people's qualities or characteristics, now note that we are going to describe. Now you know that there are different types of essays that we can write. This one is going to be a descriptive essay because we are going to describe our friends and we are going to describe the relationship that we have or they have with each other. When you write a descriptive essay about people's qualities or characteristics, think about their positive and negative qualities. So this is a good point. Now every person has good characteristics and also bad characteristics. You can think about both positive and negative. We are going to also think about their needs and the things they offer, their attitude to life, typical incidents, and etc. So even their attitude, how or what type of person do you have as a friend? Are they someone, for example, let's say calm? Are they shy? Are they excited to try everything? Are they noisy? So there are lots of characteristics that we can add. Now here, I'm going to show you my two friends here. I chose to write about my friends, which are May and Hiba. Now the characteristics I chose for my friend May: she is selfless, encouraging, she is gentle, but on the other hand, I can say that she is a little bit hesitant and she is sensitive. I have my friend Hiba as well. She is adventurous, fearless, humorous, but she is also messy and she is noisy. So you can see that I added both types of characteristics, positive and negative. We have in the middle here, I can say about the two girls that they are wise, they are helpful, they are inspiring, and they are loyal. Now also in the book we have the part when you write a descriptive essay about people's qualities, express your personal feelings, views about the people. So I chose my two friends, Hiba and May. I need to express what I feel about these two girls. Also, another thing, do not simplify. Write a list of adjectives. So you can write as much adjectives or as many as you want, and you can just write out and see. So some adjectives, they are actually positive, some may be negative, and some may be neutral. So they are not positive, they are not negative. Like when I say, for example, a person is sensitive. So this is not positive nor negative. It's something that just describes this person. Also, vary the way you express thoughts, memories, and feelings. Use expressions like, we have here actually in the book, they mentioned a lot of expressions. We have, for example, I think he or she is. I regard him or her as. He, she tends to. I have never. Anytime I think of, and so on. So you have these phrases. They are in the book. You can choose whatever you feel suitable to your sentences. Use linking devices that indicate similarity and contrast. So we are talking about two people. There has to be different similarities or contrasts between them. Cause and effect, for example, consequence, reason, and so on. Now also use a variety of expressions and words like due to this, in spite of, compared to, because, while, and etc. So we have here, these are all instructions mentioned in the book just to remind you what you may use while you are writing your essay. Moving on. The book tells us to plan your essay carefully by deciding what or who you are going to focus on in different sections or paragraphs. So you may focus on an incident, or the person, herself or himself. So it depends on what you are focusing on. You have different paragraphs, so you have to detail what you are talking about or who you are talking about. Write a first draft, then read it and make corrections or write questions about things you are not sure about. So you are going to write, first of all, your draft. You can just use a pencil, write out, of course you have your list, the different characteristics and words that you gathered, and then you're going to take these words and write them in a complete essay, which is just a draft. When you finish your draft, you can just go on, correct, and rewrite some sentences to something better. Now here, this is a hint that I'm going to give you here. We have a checklist for evaluation. Now we have here this checklist that you can use here. We have a kind of rubric here. You can just use some kind of table and write what are the things that that are necessary actually to be in the essay. And another rubric here, just to point out the things that you must focus on, which are, for example, the ideas, the spelling, the structure, handwriting, punctuation, capital letters, and so on. So you know that to have a complete essay, you must focus on these details. Now, I have a complete table here. I wrote all the details that we have in the book in a complete table, just like a checklist. to make sure at the very end, did I use the details or the phrases that are mentioned in the book or not? Now, at the very end, hand over the draft to someone else to read and edit. Encourage him or her to write comments and questions. So I'm still writing my draft, or in the draft section, when I am just rewriting and correcting, I can also hand it over to someone to help me with my essay. And at the very end, read the comments and edit your essay. So I have my complete essay here. I wrote it. This is the essay that I prepared for or about Hiba and May here, as you can see. Now we have the essay. I'm going to just show you by detail what I did. Now we have here the first part. I love my best friends May and Hiba so much. Just thinking about them makes me smile. We have a lot of precious moments together that I value so much. So you can see that I started with an introduction about my both of my friends together, that I love them. So I talked about my feelings towards my friends. Now just thinking about them makes me smile. Also personal, and that I value, my friendship that I value. So you can see that in the first paragraph, I focused about my feelings, about what I think about them. So when it comes to this table, is there a part about personal feelings, views about the people? Yes, there is. Moving on to the second part, we have here, anytime I mentioned May, I have always felt that she's family. In fact, her house is almost mine. I spend a lot of time with her. She's the most selfless person I know. She always listens and gives advice. So here in this part, you can see that I used words or connectors like anytime. I have always felt. In fact, she's the most selfless person. So here I'm talking about my friend, and I used introduction words at the beginning of my sentences. So we have here in the table, did I use phrases? Yes, I did. Now we have these phrases that were mentioned in the book. They are the same that I have in the table. Completing my essay. She is gentle and caring, but can be too sensitive sometimes. May always encourages me to do new things. She is always telling me about workshops and activities I can try out. In spite of that, she herself is a bit hesitant and thinks things carefully. So what did I use here? You can see that I used but, which is a connector. May always. In spite of that. So we have here also, we have on the other hand, Hiba on the other hand. Let's just complete. We have here Hiba on the other hand is the opposite. She is an adventurous and fearless person who loves discovering and trying new things all the time. Hiba is so humorous that she can make me laugh even if I don't feel like it. She does get on my nerves though. She can be noisy and sarcastic at times. I just need some peace and quiet. Whenever Hiba starts teasing, I say, here she goes again. So we have here, like on the other hand, we have here, whenever. These are phrases that we have here. Now we can say that we have linking words together, which means that, yes, I also use these. Moving on. Now you can see that I wrote about May and I also wrote about Hiba. Now I come here to the completion. As I am now writing my essay, Hiba is telling me that she plans to visit a museum next week, and whether I like it or not, I'm going with her. She doesn't take no for an answer. Hiba finds archaeological museums extremely interesting. She gets absolutely fascinated by history. Unlike May, who prefers very old antiques and jewelry gallery, which she finds quite amazing. So we have both of them here. Although there are differences, they seem to disappear. My friends are the best people I have ever met. They are loyal and helpful whenever I need them. They inspire me all the time to be better, and they are both wise despite their different personalities. For us, each one covers up for the other, and we turn into one perfect human being. So you can see at the very end that I talked about us together as a group and how we have our symbiotic relationship between us. So going back to our table here, we have the very end. Now your essay carefully, we have here, write it by carefully deciding what or who you are going to focus on in different sections in the paragraphs. So as you can see, yes, I did. We have here a lot of, or at the other side here, let's just see. Yes, now we have here the parts. There are different parts here that we talked about different things. We have the introduction, I love my best friends. It was about my feelings towards my friends. We have the second part, which is anytime I mention May. This paragraph is about May. We have the third paragraph, which was about Hiba. And you can see that there are lots of things that I mentioned about Hiba, but also I did talk about May and Hiba together when I said that unlike May, who prefers very old antiques and so on. And the last paragraph here, it was a kind of joining paragraph between May, Hiba, and myself, and how the relationship between us as friends is and how I value our relationship together. So I have in my essay 4 paragraphs. You can see that one paragraph is longer than the other. So we have here, it's not about the number of words, it is about what you are talking about and what you have to write. So at the very end, did I focus on what I'm going to write or who I am going to write about? Yes, I did. We focused on every detail or every point that was mentioned in the book. You can see that I wrote phrases, I used linking words, I viewed personal feelings. I wrote negative and positive qualities, and at the very end I did divide my paragraphs in the essay and focused on different topics or details. So we have another part, which is the rubric here, just to check what we are or how we wrote our essay actually. Now we have the title. Did you write your title? Did you leave the indentation? The ideas, do you have your complete ideas that you planned in your mind? Spelling, you have to make sure that your spelling is correct and just go and check other words. The structure of the sentences, the grammar, is it correct? Do you need to rewrite another sentence? Your handwriting, is it clear? No, the handwriting is something that we miss a lot, especially that we are using electronic devices a lot these days. So it's nice to practice and just write and have good handwriting just to practice, and it doesn't have to always be electronic. The punctuation, which we have the commas, the full stops, we have apostrophes, exclamation marks, maybe even question marks in your essay. So they all can be added. And at the very end, you have to make sure that you used your capital letters correctly. If you have names of places, beginning of sentences, we have cities and so on. So it depends actually on what you are writing. So you have to make sure that you have your capital letters correct. Now this is my complete paragraph. I checked everything. I checked my ideas. I checked the phrases, the points that the book showed or pointed out to me. I also had myself rubric to check all the points, the spelling and everything. And at the very end, yes, we do have our complete essay, which is about my friends, as I chose as a title. Now you can choose your own title, you can choose something personal, you can be more creative and think about different things to talk about. So maybe you have even more interesting stories or incidents to talk about in your essays. Now I'm going to end my lesson with a hadith from Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: مثل الجليس الصالح والسوء كحامل المسك ونافخ الكير، فحامل المسك إما أن يحذيك وإما أن تبتاع منه وإما أن تجد منه ريحا طيبة، ونافخ الكير إما أن يحرق ثيابك وإما أن تجد ريحا خبيثة. Now we have here from the hadith, we just remind, of course I remind myself and remind you that we have to be careful and be very wise when we choose the people who are around us and the people that we choose as our friends, because some people, they may have a negative effect, and other people, they do have positive effects, and they have positive values that I can benefit from, and also I can also be helpful to them. Now this is our hadith that we have passed by. Now we have at the very end, or before we end our lesson, we did have a very interesting writing lesson. You are going to just rewrite, think about other details, think about your friends, and maybe you can choose other people, like the essay that we had at the very beginning when the book showed us the story about the grandmother and the grandfather. So you can choose two special people. They can be family members, they can be your friends, but just remember that you have to compare using the Venn diagram here, and then you are going to just write the points that you have, details. You're going to write negative, you're going to write positive, and the most important thing, you are going to focus on the teamwork here, because our unit, yes, it is about teamwork. You are going to think about the different symbiotic relationships that you have between you and your friends or the people that you are writing about. So at the very end of our lesson, we have the outline of the day. We gave opinions. Of course, we gave opinions for the people that we are talking about. We composed a Venn diagram, as we showed that we talked about two people, and we wrote the things that they have in common in the middle. We organized writing steps. Now, actually, there are lots to talk about in this detail or this table. We have the different writing steps, the rules, the steps that we followed within the writing here. And at the very end, I wrote my essay. Now it is your turn to write your essay. So I hope that it is going to be an enjoyable one, and see you soon.